Stalingrad, the city that devoured an army. In the summer of 1942, on the banks of the mighty Volga River, a city stood unaware that it was about to become the site of the bloodiest battle in human history. Stalingrad, a name that would echo through time, whispered in fear and awe. A place where 2 million lives would be consumed by fire, steel, hunger, and frost. A city that refused to die, even when everything around it did. This is the true story of Stalingrad. The story of a battle so brutal, soldiers called it the Grinder. A battle where courage and cruelty lived side by side. A battle that broke the Nazi war machine and changed the course of World War II. In June 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest military invasion ever attempted. 3 million German soldiers surged across the Soviet border like a tidal wave. Cities crumbled, armies collapsed. In the first 6 months, the Soviet Union lost over 3 million men. By early 1942, Hitler believed victory was near. He turned his attention to the south, the oil fields of the Caucasus, and the industrial city that carried the name of his enemy, Stalingrad.
A city of factories, steel, tanks, and workers. A city that produced the T-34, the very tank stopping Hitler's advance. A city whose capture would strike Stalin's pride and Soviet morale. Hitler told his generals, "This city must fall. Its people must be erased." He had no idea that this city would erase him. Before the bombs fell, Stalingrad was alive, its streets crowded with workers, its factories roaring day and night, its port bustling with barges carrying wheat, coal, and ammunition. At the heart of the city stood 3 giants: the Red October steel factory, the Barakati gun factory, and the Stalingrad tractor plant, where tanks rolled straight from assembly line to battlefield. When Stalin heard that the Germans were approaching, he sent a single order: not a step back. There is no land beyond the Volga. Civilians dug trenches. Women welded steel plates for tanks. Children gathered sandbags. The city transformed into a fortress, brick by brick, hand by hand. On August 23, 1942, the sky above Stalingrad turned black. The Luftwaffe launched one of the most destructive air raids of the war. More than 1,600 bombers filled the sky. They dropped over 1,000 tons of explosives within hours. The city burned. Flames climbed 10 stories high. Streets melted. Steel beams twisted like paper. Exploding fuel tanks created rivers of fire flowing through the ruins. 40,000 civilians died in a single day. A survivor wrote, "People ran not from the fire, but from its sound." When the smoke cleared, Stalingrad was no longer a city. It was a skeleton, a maze of blackened rubble and shattered concrete. But the people still lived, and they prepared to fight.
General Friedrich Paulus marched the German Sixth Army toward the ruins, expecting a quick victory. What he found instead was hell. Every ruined building hid snipers. Every cellar had sandbags and machine guns. Every factory was a fortress. The Soviets used a brutal tactic called hugging the enemy. They stayed so close to German lines that planes could not bomb them without killing their own troops. Combat distances shrank to 10 meters, sometimes 5. Soldiers fought in dark stairwells, across piles of bricks, in flooded basements, even in the same room, separated only by a broken wall. A German officer wrote, "Stalingrad is no longer a city. It is a great furnace. Factories became battlegrounds. At the tractor plant, tanks rolled from the assembly line into battle without paint, sometimes without turrets. At the Betakadi factory, molten iron dripped from broken pipes while soldiers fired between glowing steel beams. At the Red October factory, men fought in tunnels so tight they could barely swing a rifle. And then there was the grain silo. 20 Soviet defenders, 20, held the silo for days against hundreds of Germans. When the Germans finally broke in, they found the defenders dead, still holding their rifles.
While soldiers fought, civilians struggled to survive the impossible. They drank melted snow. They cooked soup from wallpaper because the glue contained flour. Children slept on piles of rubble beside the bodies of neighbors. In some basements, people lived without sunlight for 40 days. Many died of hunger, but refused to abandon the city. A mother wrote, "We no longer fear death, we fear being forgotten." Stalingrad was not just a battlefield, it was a graveyard that kept breathing. In November 1942, the Soviets struck back. Their plan was brilliant. Do not attack the German center, attack the weaker Romanian and Italian divisions guarding the flanks. On November 19th, in a blizzard, more than 1 million Soviet soldiers advanced. Tanks crushed frozen earth. Artillery shook the sky. The Romanians collapsed within hours. Within 4 days, the entire German Sixth Army was encircled, a steel ring around Stalingrad. Hitler ordered Paulus not to retreat. The Sixth Army will stand fast. By saying this, he condemned his strongest army to death. Trapped inside the ruins, German soldiers starved. Their daily bread ration fell to 200 grams. They ate frozen horse meat, boiled leather belts, and sometimes the dead. Temperatures dropped to -30. Frostbite turned fingers black. Men wrapped newspapers around their feet because boots had fallen apart. The Luftwaffe promised to supply the trapped army. They needed 300 tons a day. They received barely 40. A German officer wrote, "We are freezing, we are starving, we are dying." Soldiers slept beside corpses for warmth. Death became normal. Screams became whispers. Stalingrad had become a slaughterhouse. In January 1943, the Soviets launched their final offensive. The ring around the Sixth Army tightened. Streets once filled with battle were now silent, covered with snow and bodies. On January 31st, Paulus surrendered. Hitler had promoted him to field marshal the night before, expecting him to commit suicide. But Paulus refused. When he surrendered, he said only, "I have no intention of shooting myself for Hitler." 90,000 German soldiers laid down their weapons. Only 5,000 would ever return home.
Stalingrad cost the world more than 2 million lives. It was the bloodiest battle ever fought. A city reduced to dust, yet unbroken. It marked the turning point of World War II. From this moment forward, Hitler would never again go on the offensive. The Soviet Union would push west, and the road to Berlin would begin. Stalingrad became a symbol of endurance, of sacrifice, of the human spirit's ability to survive even the worst of hells. A city of steel that faced fire and lived. The Battle of Stalingrad, the city that devoured an army, and the place where the world learned that sometimes victory does not belong to the strongest, but to those who refuse to die.